Hello and welcome the listeners. This is Robert Baratheon. I'd like to take a moment to introduce myself to listeners, tell you a bit about this channel and my blog, The New Versailles, how it relates to Gamergate, and I'd also like to talk about what I hope to achieve with this video series. I'm an attorney living in the Washington, D.C. area, and I've been interested in the Gamergate movement since practically its inception several months ago. And I'm also interested in the cultural and political changes that have been happening in the United States and how Gamergate relates to those changes. The biggest change that I've seen in my lifetime politically has been the massive expansion of the federal government, which is most evident living here in DC. With all the construction, the skyrocketing property values, the new monuments, political events, the hundreds of new agencies that seem to be springing up all around us all the time, you really do feel like you're on the estate of a new Versailles palace, just like the real Versailles palace in France. But the idea goes beyond that for me. It's not just a physical place. I started the new Versailles blog around a year ago based on the idea that there's a political and social elite that's forming in this country. And this elite feels entitled to dictate to everyone how we should live our lives. In my writings, I've described them as sharing a paternalist vision of stewardship over the rest of us. And what I'm describing, of course, is the social justice movement, or as they refer to themselves as progressives. And that's what I prefer to call them as well. I hope to talk more in the series about what social justice really is at its core level, what progressivism is, and why these concepts and these movements are dangerous to gaming and to the United States culture as a whole. I've been staunchly opposed to progressivism for a long time. I've also been a lifelong gamer. For me, in addition to just being a hobby, gaming was often an escape from what I felt was the repressiveness and the social arrogance of political correctness and social justice and those types that make so much of the rest of our lives just generally unpleasant. Gaming was always an outlet for me to live out fantasies, have adventures, play strategic games against my friends, and it was just a much needed source of creativity and escape in a world that it just seemed to be closing in so many other ways. So when social justice brought its culture war to gaming, I knew that this would be a last stand for many for true freedom of expression. They've already turned Hollywood television into just so much sanitized drivel, just exploring the same politically correct ideas over and over again ad infinitum. They've turned academia into a wasteland of progressive groupthink, where students are not allowed to express themselves or fear severe reprisal, and that goes for the few conservative or libertarian or even moderate professors as well. And they've also injected identity issues into sci-fi and comics. I'm not a comic book reader myself, although I've heard from my experience in Gamergate that comics have been really done in lately by the progressive movement, and as much evidenced by the recent retraction of a cover of Batgirl that feminists called to take down successfully, unfortunately. So now these activists are coming for gaming, my hobby, and a hobby that so many people hold dear and get so much value out of. And I've had enough of it, and I think the people in Gamergate have had enough too. When I found out about Gamergate, I was just overjoyed to learn that I was not alone in opposing this kind of a movement. I immediately found a home, and I made many great friends and allies already. But I wanted to do more than just engage in the hashtag activity and so forth. So my hope with this channel is to get into some of the deeper topics surrounding Gamergate. What gets a lot of coverage are the ethical issues in journalism that we uh, talk so much about, and that's great. But what I feel doesn't get as much coverage and discussion are the philosophical issues, the political issues surrounding Gamergate, the cultural issues, the social aspects. So I'd really love to explore who we are as a movement, who we're opposing, what drives us, what drives our opposition, what do we hope to achieve in Gamergate. I think it's a lot more complicated than ethics in journalism, although that's definitely one part of it. I think there's a very deep and rich cultural aspect to the movement as well that I'd like to discuss. And most importantly, I want to strategize with my fellow members about how we're going to achieve all these goals. What's next? So I hope that listeners in this channel might be able to learn a bit from me, from my experience in politics and the law, and in dealing with the social justice movement for about a decade now. And I hope to learn from my guests and my viewers as well. And there are links above to my channel, in my channel for Twitter and the New Versailles blog. I hope you'll check out some of my writings and feel free to comment there. But I'm also open to guest suggestions. I'd like to have streams. I hope you'll join me. And thanks so much for listening. I hope to have some new videos up shortly. Thank you.